Hello, my name is Aviva, and today I have 31 books to share with you guys. So over the past month and a little bit, I've somehow collected like 31 books, and I didn't even mean to go on like a book haul, book buying spree sort of thing. I just sort of like slowly bought like book after book, and it somehow like escalated to 31 books. And then all of a sudden here I am like sharing another book haul with you, even though I didn't really plan it. It just sort of it happened, okay? But anyway, I don't feel that bad because out of the 31 books, I'm pretty sure I read, what was it? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've read 12 of the 31 books that I bought in the past month. So I feel like that is pretty good odds of like, you bought a lot of books, but you also read a lot of the ones you bought. So, take with that what you will. So the first book that I wanted to share with you is the book that I forgot to put in my last recent reads video. I can't believe that I forgot to share it with you guys. Like, I'm usually so OCD and I have everything super organized, and I somehow forgot to add this in. But in the month of September, I did read and buy Shameless King by Maya Hughes. And it's funny because when I was thinking about what I was going to tell you about this book, I was going to say how forgettable it was, and then I literally forgot to put it in my recent reads video. So take with that what you will, but I did buy this past month, and it's basically a hockey romance. It's the first book in a hockey romance series, and why I bought it was because a lot of people said that if you liked Off Campus, the hockey romance, 8-book series sort of thing by Elle Kennedy, then you would very much enjoy this because it kind of has the same vibe. It's like college hockey players in a romance, like, each person gets their own book sort of thing. So I picked up the first one to see what I thought about it, and then, I was going to see if I liked it, then I would go get the rest of the series. The thing is I very much didn't like it. I thought it was extremely forgettable, like I already said, but also like it was kind of like a bad version of Off Campus, and literally like it wasn't good enough that if I wanted to read another college hockey romance, I would rather read Off Campus again than reread this. So take with that what you will. I did buy it. It was, I got through the whole thing. It wasn't like a DNF. It just wasn't that good. Another book that I got and I also already read is Pucked by Helena Hunting. So this is actually the first like naked man on cover book that I read by Helena Hunting. I have a few more of her books in my library, and I've read one of them and I very much enjoyed it, but unfortunately I did not like this book. So I do know that Helena Hunting writes a lot of like smuttier books as well as like her regular adult contemporary romances, and I happen to have not liked this book. So I'm pretty sure this is the first book in a series. It's a hockey romance series, and I just really didn't like it because honestly it was too smutty. And it's funny because it's like, if you know all the books that I read, you know that I'm totally fine with smut, but I really need like the angst and tension to like go along with it, and like you gotta hold back a little, like you gotta make me wanting more. And this book was like these two people had like a one-night stand, and then they like tried to have like a relationship afterwards, and it was a very like, they just kept sleeping with each other. But like the fact that like right at the beginning of the book there was like a 2-chapter smut scene, it was just like too much too soon sort of thing, and then it just didn't stop there. Like half this book was literally like sex scene after sex scene, and there wasn't enough like angst and stuff like that. So I just very much didn't like it. But if you're literally looking for like a porn book, like this one will be like really good for you. But for me, there wasn't enough of like the relationship building, and there was just too much smut. So take with that what you will. I bought it. I had to add it into this book haul. I also recently read it, and I will not be continuing on with the series. So while we're on the books that I've already read and talked about on my channel that happen to have naked men on the covers, I'm going to quickly talk about the Sinner of Saints series by L.J. Shen. So I have read all 4 of these books. It's Vicious, Ruckus, Scandalous, and Bane. All of these books are absolutely amazing. They're kind of like a little bit darker, but not too dark, and they're pretty smutty, but honestly not that smutty. They just more have like a little bit more taboo-ish, like more intense tropes, if you will. The first book is a bully romance. The second book happens to be like a second chance romance sort of thing, but then the third book is an age gap romance, a 19-year-old with a 33-year-old, and then the fourth book is a rape victim romance. So like the girl, she was raped at the beginning of the book, and she has a lot of trauma and she's dealing with it. So this one happens to be like the darkest of them all, but basically they were all absolutely amazing. But I did talk in detail about all of these in my last video, my recent reads video. So if you did want to hear like in detail what all of these were about, then I will have that video linked in the description below. But basically, I absolutely loved this series so freaking much. I literally gave every single book 5 stars. Happens to be number 2, I gave 4 stars, but I'm not gonna get into why. All I'm saying is that they were absolutely amazing, and if you want to take a recommendation, then take this one. I very much loved it. It was great romances. I literally couldn't recommend these more. Oh, and also I should mention that they're companion books, so like you technically could read like just one if you wanted, but I recommend reading the whole series. But technically it's like 4 separate romances. I just wanted to point that out. So the next books that I wanted to share are the 3 books in the All Saints series. So this is actually the spin-off series from the Sinner of Saints books. So in these books, you're following kids in high school as each of them have their own romance, and happens to be these kids are the children from the original 4 books. So you basically get to see their parents fall in love, and then in the epilogues, you get to see little snippets of like the children being born or like the children being friends. And then basically in these 3 books, you get to see them as they're in high school, and happens to be like, I'm pretty sure these are football romances because the boys in this high school are on the football team like their parents were. It happens to be all those parents, they went to this high school called All Saints High, and they all became friends like on the football team sort of thing. But like you don't really get to see much of that in the Sinner of Saints series. But in this series, all the boys are football players, so it's kind of got like that sports romance aspect. But basically you already know most of the kids that are going to be in these books because they were originally introduced in the Sinner of Saints book. So basically I have not read these books yet, mostly because I literally don't want the world to be over, and I already know I'm gonna love these books. Like I have no doubt I'm going to very much enjoy them, and I don't want them to be over yet, so I'm kind of pushing them off until I'm kind of like on the verge of a reading slump. And then when I need a book that I know is going to like help me out and like be a good 5-star read, I'm gonna pick these up. So these again are companion books, so you technically could read just one if you wanted, but I plan to read them in order, and I'm so excited for them. Next up, I have Dear Ava by Isla Madden Mills. So I actually already read this book. I talked about it in my last recent reads video, but in case you haven't seen it, I'm just quickly gonna say that this is about high schoolers. There are trigger warnings for rape. The main girl, she gets raped and she doesn't know who raped her, and then she shows up in school like 10 months later, and basically she's trying to find out who raped her. It was one of the football players, and then at the same time, this guy sent her this letter like anonymously saying like, I'm a football player, but I want to be there for you. I've really liked you for a long time. And she's trying to find out who it was that sent it to her, and at the same time trying to find out who raped her. And it's a really good story. It's got a lot of layers, and I very, very much enjoyed it. I literally read it in like less than a day. I couldn't put it down, and I also completely do not understand the cover of this book. Why is there a naked man on the cover? I have absolutely no idea. Don't let it deter you from reading an amazing book. If you don't like reading like naked men on the covers, like literally just pretend it's not there, because this book was awesome, and it literally could have had like an illustrated, like nice little like, not steamy looking cover, because even though there was like a scene or 2 in here, like it didn't really feel like a smutty book. It was just a really, really good book. So I very much recommend reading it, but it is also a book that I recently purchased, so I had to add it into this book haul. Next up, I have the Dirty Air series by Lauren Asher. So I bought all 4 books in this series. It's a companion series, and you're basically following Formula 1 race car drivers. So in each book, you get to follow a different romance, and I've actually already read the first 2 books in the series, but I'm not on like a mission to read these like back to back. I kind of want to spread them out a little bit, and when I'm in the mood for a little bit of like race car driver fun, then I'm going to pick up the next one. So I like the first 2 books. I'm definitely going to be finishing up on the series, but I did want to show you that these books are, first of all, so freaking pretty. Like look at the covers of them. I really like them, especially because like these are special edition covers, and the original covers have like naked men on them, and like they are a little bit steamy. Like I will say that there are a couple of scenes like that, but like I just very much like these special editions, so I made sure to buy them in case like in the future I couldn't get them. So I have the whole series. I'm very excited that I added them to my collection, and I definitely recommend reading them. Well, at least recommend reading the first 2, because those are the only ones I've read so far. So next up, another book that I've already read that I spoke about in my last recent reads video is Scoring Wilder by R.S. Gray. So this is the first book that I read by R.S. Gray, and I absolutely loved it. It's a soccer romance. It's like a forbidden sort of thing. Like this girl is like a rookie, and she's like a freshman on her college team, and she's gonna end up having like a forbidden romance with like one of her coaches sort of thing. But it is absolutely amazing. It's not too steamy, but there are a couple of scenes in there, and I'm pretty sure it read like a new adult. I don't really remember, but basically basically, it was amazing. So freaking good. I literally couldn't put it down and it put a smile on my face the entire time. So I recently bought it and I'm so happy that I read it right away because oh my God, did I love it. So I seriously wasn't joking when I said that I loved Scoring Wilder and R.S. Gray's writing so much that in this book haul alone, I have 6 more R.S. Gray books to share with you because I've decided that I'm going to backlog her work and I already started on it. I've read 2 more books by R.S. Gray, like, you know, since I bought all of her books. I'm like literally reading them like back to back. Like they're literally that good. Like they just put a smile on my face and I can't get enough of it. So basically the next one that I read and I wanted to share with you is The Fox and the Hound. So I did talk about this in my last recent reads video. So I'm just going to quickly say that this is like a fake dating, like vet with like puppy owner sort of thing in like a small town. Basically this girl, she got a puppy and this guy just moved into her small town and he's like the new bachelor in town and all the girls are like obsessed with him, trying to get his attention. And obviously she's the only one that like caught his eye sort of thing. And for whatever reason, he's gonna make her like fake date him for a little bit. So it's got like a fake dating like little trickle into this book, but honestly, it's not like a full on fake dating book. But if you're a fan of that trope, then there is a little bit of it in this book, but I very much liked it. Literally my only complaints about it is that it was too short. I literally could have kept reading it. So I definitely recommend it. And also I am so happy that I recently bought it because it was just great. So then I also got Not So Nice Guy, and I didn't say this in my last recent reads video because I only finished it yesterday. So this was a best friends to lovers sort of trope. So it's these 2 friends, they like work together in this like school, they're both teachers, and they basically like have liked each other like the entire time, but they were always like dating someone else and they got the vibe off the other person that like they didn't really like each other. So they were holding in their feelings, and for whatever reason, like all of a sudden they like share each other's feelings with them and like things go like from there. So it's like a friends to lovers. I very much liked it. It was so cute. Literally smile on my face the whole time. Couldn't recommend it more. So the next one that I got, I feel like I should have just made like an R.S. Gray book haul because I have so many to share, but it's fine. We're just gonna, you know, put it into all the other books that I got. But the next one is called Make Me Bad, and I'm actually going to be starting this book today, so I'm very excited for it. I don't really know much about it. It's just kind of like this girl is like a really like goody two-shoes sort of thing. I don't know if she's like a librarian or something, but basically like she hasn't done anything bad in her life and she's very like, you know, simple and prude and stuff like that. And then obviously like this bad boy is gonna like come into her life and like everyone's gonna be like, stay away from him, you cannot handle him. And she's like, I want to be bad, like, you know, make me like turn me to the dark side sort of thing. So I don't really know like how it's gonna go, but I have a feeling it's gonna be great because somebody recommended it to me on Instagram. They slided it into my DMs and was like, you should read this by R.S. Gray if you're enjoying her work. So I'm like, I will take up your recommendation. I bought it 2 days later. It's in my hands. Thank you, Amazon, very much. So the next R.S. Gray book is Anything You Can Do, and this is an enemies to lovers. So it's about these 2 people that were enemies when they, I guess, were in high school or just like much younger, and then it's like the future now, and they're coming back into each other's lives for some reason. I think the guy comes back to like the hometown or something, and all of a sudden he's like this really good looking doctor or something like that. I don't know if he's a doctor, don't take my word for that. But anyway, like for some reason, like he's gonna start like coming on to her, and she's like, what the hell are you doing? Are you messing with me? Is this like sexual warfare or something? I don't really know, but basically I just know that like I'm already like laughing at this book because I know it's going to be that good. So I love enemies to lovers. I'm very excited that R.S. Gray made an enemies to lovers because, you know, one of my favorite tropes. So I'm excited to see how this one goes, but I have a feeling it's going to be good. So next I got Cold Hearted Boss, which I think might be another enemies to lovers. It's basically about this girl who is gonna pretend, I think, to be a boy so that she could like get this really like high paying like construction job or something. I don't know, but basically when she gets there, she finds out that like she actually knows who her boss is, and like her boss knows that she's a girl, not a boy. Like, you know, hips don't lie. It literally says that, like as Shakira says, these hips don't lie. It sounds funny. She's such a funny writer, I'm telling you. But basically she already met her boss like a month ago in a bar, and like they very much didn't get along. Like it says like, oh, we were destined to be like sworn enemies. So I think that's why it's going to be like an enemies to lovers sort of thing. But basically, like, I don't know how it's going to go down, but it sounds really fun. Like this girl pretending to be a guy so that she could like have this job, and then her boss, who needs her to be a guy, like knows that she's a girl. So I'm excited to see how it goes down, but I don't think R.S. Gray is going to disappoint me. And the last R.S. Gray book that I'm going to share with you is called Settling the Score, and this is another sports romance. So I'm pretty sure that this book takes place like in middle of the Olympics, and I think that, I don't know what the main girl does. Is she like a soccer player or something? I don't know, but either way, the girl is like in the Olympics, and then she's gonna like catch the attention from like a swimmer, I think. And the thing is that I like sports romances, so I couldn't really pass up another R.S. Gray sports romance, but I have talked to a couple of people who have read a lot of R.S. Gray books, and they said that they didn't love this book so much. So I'm kind of like taking like a jump on this book, what you call it, like going on a whim or whatever it is that you want to call it. Like I'm kind of like giving this book a chance, even though I think it might disappoint me. R.S. Gray has written a lot of books, and I kind of did a lot of research into which books a lot of people like and then which books were a little bit cheesy and like on the not worth it side. And this book kind of fell in the middle. So I'm not really sure if I'm going to love it or not, but I am crossing my fingers because I love sports romances, and so far I am loving R.S. Gray. So next I got Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. So this is one of the only standalone books by Christina Lauren that I have not read yet. It's this one, Roomies, and then Autobiography, which I don't even plan to read Autobiography. So it's really just this and Roomies, which is like on Christina Lauren's like standalone backlog that I haven't gotten to yet. So when I saw this book on sale for like $5, I'm like, okay, it's finally time. I know I've been pushing it off for a while, but I just gotta buy it because I know I will love it. So this happens to be like a friends to lovers dual timeline book, and those two things I'm not the hugest fan of. First of all, I don't love friends to lovers most of the time because usually it's like an unrequited love thing, and I'm like, you should have just said that you liked each other earlier, like you could have had so much more time together. So it always bothers me in that aspect. And then also, I'm not the hugest fan of dual timelines. It usually gives me like a little bit of anxiety just like seeing both timelines and like wanting to know what happened at the end of the past timeline that made like the present timeline thing start, sort of thing. So I usually get anxiety, but not enough to like deter me from reading it. And Christina Lauren has never disappointed me. And I also know that this is some of people's like favorite Christina Lauren books of all time. Like this is people's favorite of their work. So I'm like, how can I pass up the chance when I see it on sale? So I bought it, and hopefully I will read it soon. So next I got Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. So I seriously don't really know what it's about. I mean, I kind of do. I read the back of the book, but basically it's kind of like this girl is like an anonymous like internet person. Like I don't really know exactly what it is. It's like, I don't know, she writes and posts anonymous stories about the internet's favorite couple, and then like this guy is like a fan of hers or something. Like she's a fan fiction writer. I really don't know. I don't take my word for it, but basically I literally bought this because there's someone on Instagram that I follow and I really like her recommendations, and she said that like she absolutely loved this book, and then I saw it on sale, so I'm like, okay, time to buy it. So I bought it. So next up I got The Distance Between Us by Casey West. So I don't know why I bought this. I mean, I do. I got it from Book Outlet, and I have like a ton of rewards to Book Outlet because like I have a thing in my description of like, if you like use my link, then like you'll save $10 off of your book. So a lot of people use it, and therefore I get a lot of rewards. And I was making an order, and I kind of just saw this book, and I'm like, all right, I have the extra rewards. Let me just like add it in because I have read Casey West before, and I do like her books. They are YA, and sometimes I'm a little bit like, I'm kind of growing out of YA. So like, I don't know if I should like read another one of her books, but then I saw it and the synopsis, it sounded good. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just add it in. It's not like I'm paying for it. Rewards basically means a free book. So I got it. It's basically about like this girl who is always like wary of like rich people. Like her mother always told her that like, you know, like stay away from rich people because like money doesn't buy happiness, sort of thing. And then she ends up like befriending this guy who happens to be really wealthy. And she's like, you know, he's the only person who gets me. So like maybe like having a lot of money doesn't matter. And then she like finds out that I guess money is playing a bigger role in their relationship than she realized. And then it's like, can the distance between us like keep them apart or something? I don't really know. Basically, it's a Casey West book. It's another one of those like little cute YA romances. So I'm excited to read it. No idea when I'll get to it, but it's gonna sit in my library until I do. So if you've been following my channel, then you know that I've been recently reading all of the Percy Jackson books, and I recently completed it, so I'm finally ready to move on to the second series in that Rick Riordan, like Percy Jackson universe, and that is the Heroes of Olympus series. So I actually already owned the third and the fourth book in this series because my father bought it for me off of my Amazon wishlist. Don't ask me why he bought me the third and fourth book when all 5 of them were sitting on my wishlist, but I mean, whatever. I'm not going to blame him. Thank you very much for the books. Like, I'm not saying don't buy me like a middle book of the series. I'm just saying like get me the first one in the series, not the third one, but it's okay. But basically I bought myself the first, second, and fifth book in this series so that I have a completed set, so that now that I finished Percy Jackson's first series, I'm ready to continue on with the rest of them. So I don't know when I'm going to get to them. I did put this on my October TBR, hoping that I will like continue on pretty soon, but I'm not in the hugest rush. Now that they're sitting in my library, library, I know that I could get to them whenever. So whenever I'm in the mood for more Percy Jackson, Greek mythology, I will start on this series. So next I have The Graduate by Naomi Novak, which is a pre-order that my father got for me off of my Amazon wishlist. So thank you to him for getting this for me. I very much appreciate it. But basically this is the second book in the Deadly Education duology. So I didn't read the first book yet because I kind of wanted like the whole thing to be finished. And now that the book showed up at my door because it finally released, I am ready to read it. So I did put this entire duology on my October TBR and hopefully I will get to it soon. But basically this series is like about these kids who are in this like magical school that have like scary monsters and like deadly artifacts and like things like that. And I don't really know what the story is actually about, but I do know that it takes place in this like really cool like dark academia vibe sort of school with magic and like things like that. So I'm very excited to read it, and I'm very excited that I finally have this book in my hands to add to my library. So thank you to my father for getting this for me off of my Amazon wishlist. So next I have another new release, which is The Bronze Beast, which is the third book in the Gilded Wolves trilogy. So I didn't pre-order this because I completely forgot it was coming out, but then the second like everybody was like showing it off on Instagram, I'm like, oh my god, I need that book because I have the first two books in this series. So I ordered it right away. It came right away, and now that is part of my collection, I have to get going on reading The Gilded Wolves. So all I know about this trilogy is that it's kind of like a heist sort of thing taking place at like 1899 in like Milan or some fancy like non-American place like that, and they're going to try and like steal like a deadly artifact or a cursed artifact or something like that. Honestly, I don't really know, but I do know that it is like a found family sort of thing, like very similar to like Six of Crows with like the heist and the multiple characters that you're following sort of thing. And I know that it has a very interesting and unique magic system, so I am very excited to read this series, and I'm happy that it is finally completed and I have the third book in my hands. So the next book that I have is called Shielded, and literally the only reason I bought this book was first of all because I got it off a book outlet, off of all of like my rewards, so I didn't actually have to pay for it, but also because I saw somebody on Instagram say that if you liked the Kiss of Deception series, then you'll very much enjoy this because it's very similar. So I don't really know what it's about, but I do know that it's about this girl who I'm pretty sure is a princess, but she's not like the firstborn child, so she's not like that important to like the throne or something like that, and she's basically like betrothed to this other prince or something, and she's basically gonna go so that she could like marry him, and then she gets like ambushed on the way there, and she finds out like the reason that she was like, you know, sent to go marry him was like for the peace, and like the reason that they need peace is like much more than like she thought it was. Like there's a lot more problems going on between their two like countries or something than she thought. So I don't really know much more than that, and honestly that synopsis could be a little bit off, but I have heard good things about this book, and this is the first book in, I'm almost positive, a duology. So I do have to go get the second book, but for now I own the first book, and hopefully I'll read it soon, but honestly probably not too soon, but it's in my library for whenever it is, I'm ready for it. And the last book that I'm going to share with you is Unravel the Dusk, which is the second book in the Spin the Dawn duology. So I am actually very upset that I bought the second book without actually buying the first book, but I saw this book in hardcover nonetheless, like on Book Outlet, and basically all my Book Outlet orders are free because I have all the rewards. So how can I say no to a series that was on my want to read list, even though like I can't buy the first book? So I bought the second book. I'm very excited to read it, but I still have to go and get the first book. So it is on my Amazon wish list if anybody wanted to go and like surprise me and get it for me so that I can finally read this. But for now, I'm just gonna wait it out until I see the right time to buy Spin the Dawn, which is the first book that I need. But basically, hopefully Book Outlet will have it like one day soon, so I'll be able to get it. But for now, I have the second book in the duology only because, you know, I couldn't pass up getting a book for free. So anyway, that is all the books that I've recently got. I know that this was a huge book haul, but I didn't really plan on doing a huge book haul. I literally just bought like 4 books here and then 2 books here, and it just somehow added up to this massive stack. But I'm not complaining. I'm very grateful that I got to add all of these to my library and that I could buy whatever books I want. I love buying books. It is honestly a bad habit, but also a good habit because I could be spending that money on like much worse things. So I'm not complaining that I like reading books so much to the fact that like I bought 31 books this month. So anyway, I'm curious to know if you've bought any books recently. What books are you excited to read? Are you going to add any of the books that I mentioned in this video to your want to read list? Like, do you want to get any of them? Have you read any of them? Basically, leave me a comment down below because I love chatting with you guys. But anyway, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not currently subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button because, you know, you made it to the end of this video. You obviously like watching me, so why not subscribe? But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, time, enjoy reading.